Right, well, the family business was started by my grandfather, Alfred Wells, and his two sons, John and Alistair, back in 1972. And they started off mending tractors, and then they got into making wood-burning stoves, which was quite a departure, but what it was is there was Dutch elm disease hit the UK, and so there was loads of wood everywhere. And at the same time that happened, oil prices rocketed. And so my grandfather, who was probably a bit of an eccentric inventor type person, he thought, well, why don't we build a wood-burning stove, a small wood-burning stove, because the only ones that are available on the market are big Scandinavian monsters that you can't fit into a small English house. So they made a few little wood-burning stoves, and it just rocketed from there, really. They sold very well, they got lots of orders. And the company just grew and grew and grew. And I mean, it's been through its ups and downs, and we've brought out new models, and we've kind of restyled it, and we've sort of got a lot of contemporary models now. But one of the features of the stoves that we had was vitreous enamel. So we would coat the panels of the stove in glass, and vitreous enamel is essentially that. It's glass, powdered glass fused onto metal. So you get a really low maintenance finish, you can get really bright colours, and it kind of looks as good as new, even sort of 20, 30 years on. Now, we started off outsourcing the vitreous enamel, but then we decided to bring it in-house so we could offer more of a complete package. And so the company went off in two different directions. We were making vitreous enamelled stoves, but then lots of other people got interested in our vitreous enamel. And we started to get inquiries from signage companies, from London Underground, from railway companies, from people saying, oh, I want my cooker re-enamelled or my bath re-enamelled. And suddenly we had an influx of work on the enamelling side, and that's how the enamelling began. And that's how the stove side began. Since then, we've had a couple of other additions to the company. We import pumice chimney from Scandinavia to sell alongside our stoves. And we also have some small fair trade projects that we kind of set up and run from Cambodia that make our log baskets to sell with the stoves. They make hearth tiles, they make floor tiles, little companion sets. And so we have, we do all sorts of things. Obviously on the enamelling side of things, we're big into kind of supporting artists, sort of local, national and international artists to sort of do work. We have two artists full-time. We have Mike Forrest and David Knight. They've just recently had an exhibition at the Key Arts Centre which specialised in vitreous enamel work. Mike is a screen printer and an artist by night, I guess.
Most of the time I'm working on sort of like detailed maps and stuff like this, and very intricate kind of technical kind of like screen printing, but they allow my days off, which I've worked 4 days, so the 1 day off, and the weekends, if there's people around, then they allow me to just come in and use the facilities. With the paintings that I used to do, I used to try and get a really, really flat, very flat, shiny gloss kind of like effect. But you can get that with the enamel really easily. I mean, it goes to glass straight away. But also, you can draw into it when it's dry. So you put it on, it's wet, and then when you dry it in like a dryer, it turns into like a chalk, and you can draw into it, and you get like loads of different kind of. You can get kind of rough surfaces, you can get glosses, you can get, depending on what you do with the actual enamel, how you fire it and everything. So it's just a very interesting sort of medium. You get certain artists, they've got a project that they've been commissioned to do, but they might not know exactly how's best to do it. You know, sometimes they're massive, large-scale projects, and they're used to using, you know, little kind of like pieces of canvas or prints onto small pieces, and just kind of like to get them to think about how to get it that big needs somebody who's really working around it, and I'm using things, you know, using it day to day, So yeah, kind of it's good to kind of help them. Then you get, you know, you bounce back kind of like ideas, feedback, and it's all good. Yeah.
Dave Knight is an account manager in the on the enamelling side of the business, and he a lot of his art involves vitreous enamel.
Well, basically, I'm mainly sort of illustrative based. It's a case that I'm going to use a lot of different mediums, but yeah, I suppose if you were to sort of put me into one category, it would be mainly illustration, but sort of multimedia, along those sort of lines, really. You know, I basically applied for the job as an artwork preparer in the artwork department, and sort of took on a few projects because there wasn't anybody at the time to do that, and sort of found I had a bit of a knack for it, and things sort of moved on from there. And over the years, it sort of defined itself as a project management role. And yeah, as I said, I've had the opportunity to sort of get into project managing art as well as being an artist myself, which is quite an interesting way to sort of look at things, really. It's a wonderful job to have, really. I mean, because as well as practicing as an artist, I get to help other people realise their creative dream as well. So, I mean, it's a very good place to be at the moment, yeah. And we get to live on the island as well, so I mean, you can't really ask for much more.
I think the growth of the business has actually made us a lot more creative, in a sense, because we ideas rub off other artists. Artists come in, and they inspire a lot of people working here, and people try new things, they try different things. Artists come in and ask if they can experiment with the techniques that we've got and really kind of push the boundaries. So we've had some artists come in and they've purposely left things in the furnace for too long to see what happens, which we would never have done on a commercial basis. But actually, it's really helped our business grow in other directions. So it's an excellent, you know, coming from the creative point of view and the commercial point of view, you bring the two together and you get something come out of that as well, something completely new. I guess there's always been a worry of ours that you have an artist come into the factory and you think you don't want them to sort of become a diva and sort of interfere in the commercial practice that we're trying to run, because, you know, that's a very serious point of the business. We have to make money, but actually the artists we've worked with, in fact all the artists we've worked with, have never put any ridiculous demands on us or have never really disrupted the work. They've fitted in very well. I think the island definitely is a creative place to live, and it's definitely very stimulating. It's a very, very inspiring place to live. We're surrounded by such amazing beauty, and I think the boundaries of the water actually help that, because there's something about islanders, I think, that they just generally seem to be more creative. Because of the community that we have on the island, I think people very quickly see other projects taking off and other creative projects taking off, and they think, oh, we could do that, or we could do that. And so I think things are changing, and it's really encouraging to see that and seeing the arts really flourish. It's good.